So let's back up now, because just before the saber-toothed tiger, let's suppose you were eating a Snickers bar. Now I know saber-toothed tigers, Snickers bars, wrong era, but you got to work with me here a little bit. So you're eating the Snickers bar, and let's just make believe that there's a little guy in your belly. He wears an orange hard hat, and his job is to really direct traffic in your body, down in your belly. Food comes in, and he says, "Okay, there's Snickers bar. What do I got there? I got some peanut butter. I got some caramel. I need some of the nutrients from the peanuts. Yeah, I'll take that. And that chocolate, boy, that tastes good coming down. I know right where that will go. All right, that's his job. His job is to direct that, and the rest of that stuff, I'm just going to put away to waste. Okay, that's the job, to digest your food and process it and select the nutrients that your body's needs, distribute to the areas that your body requires in order to be healthy and strong and live your life as most of us do. But once you move into that fight or flight response system, all of those functions, for example, cease to exist. That guy's on permanent strike. So one of the things, and I don't know if you don't have to indicate, but one of the things that we see with many people who are struggling with these pain conditions is they also have a lot of digestion issues. They have terrible bowels, whether it's constipation, diarrhea, and or a fluctuation between the two at some type of an interval regularly. It goes one way, then another way, and it just doesn't end. And the reason for that, as we'll discuss, is because when your body is in this mode, in this perpetual cycle, you're not chopping food up the way you're supposed to. You're not breaking things down the way you're supposed to. You're not extracting nutrients from the things that are going in your body the way you were meant to. And so when I first heard this, and Dr. Commenter was sharing this with me, I said, "Jeffrey," I says, you gotta break this down for me. I'm just a regular guy from a small town. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Dumb this down," because he's using these great big words. And he says, "Paul, now," he says, you got to understand that people that have these conditions, he says, they're sympathetic and they're parasympathetic. They're in conflict. This fight and flight and this rest and digest is in conflict. Normally, what happens is that somebody moves into that fight or flight, and a couple things happen. Either they kill the saber-toothed tiger, or they make it to their cave, or their lunch. In any case, that fight or flight mechanism and all the chemicals that are being distributed to your body from your adrenal glands, who's the control center, that's a guy with a yellow heart hat we'll talk about in a minute. All of that operation is no longer happening. It's not existing anymore. He says most people go into that state, and then after a short period of time, they move back into this rest and or digest mode that we discussed. Now, what happens in the rest and digest mode? Well, we sleep. And for most of us, most of the population, we sleep pretty well, right? We sleep well. We digest food well. We extract the nutrients well. And that's how we perpetuate ourselves. Now, one of the other things when we're talking about sleep is that many people with these symptoms and conditions say, "I don't sleep very well." Anybody in the room have those issues? All right. And most of you are ladies in the room. And so question is, do we have any moms? Any moms in the room? Okay. So as a young mom, you may remember being tired all the time. Yes? Even on those nights when you can say the baby slept all night, but I'm still tired. Who remembers those days? Okay. All right. And let's think about the reason. Now, I have 4 children. When they were little, I was the person who slept on pins and needles. That was my little job, is when there was a creak in the bed or creak in the crib, Dad was in there. Okay, that was my little special time with the kids if they woke up at night. And what's happening is, though, if you think about this, whether it's a child sleeping, a newborn baby in the house, whether the group of us went out tonight and we got lost in the middle of the woods, I guarantee none of us are going to sleep in a real deep, restive sleep. With the baby in the house, we're listening for that child. We're listening for that sound. It doesn't allow us to really move into a deep, what we refer to as a REM sleep, meaning the sleep area, the time in our sleep when we're at full rest, which is the time that our body really rejuvenates itself, even on the cellular level. This is the time at night when your body says, okay, body, we're asleep now. Finally, I can take a look at myself. Now it's time, you know, just like at night when you have those big stores, all the people leave and then everybody's rushing around, setting the store back up and replenishing things. Well, same kind of thing in your body. Your body's looking at its cells and asking itself questions. Hey, I'm a cell. What am I supposed to be comprised of? Oh, I'm supposed to have certain percentage of water, but I don't have that amount of water. I need to have more water. You know, boy, this metal, this heavy metal stuff that I have, this aluminum, I don't think I need this here. I'm going to get rid of that. And that's the time when your cells really regenerate themselves, rebuild themselves, and really evaluate their status and take care of themselves. So if I'm a cell and I need a little of something, I'm going to call the guy in the adrenal gland factory and say, hey, adrenal gland, send me some of that. You know, I need it. And that's how our bodies, and I'm simplifying, I'm making it silly, but I'm trying to simplify it in a way that we can all understand. You know, some of the technical words, and I know many of you have probably been to doctors who give you all kinds of big words, and you're probably like me, I like the little words. I have to go home and look up the big words. I don't want you to do that today. So when you're in that fight or flight response, it's just like when you have the baby. You're on high alert for something. And when you're on high alert all the time and you don't sleep very well, your body doesn't rejuvenate itself. Secondarily, you're chronically tired, or you could say chronically fatigued. Many people with the symptoms, and or people who are diagnosed, for example, with fibromyalgia, a lot of times are also diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I think it's kind of ironic. They kind of go hand in hand. So what Dr. Commoner decided to do is really unravel this mystery and figure out how to fix it. So I keep saying 8, but it's closer to 10 years ago now. He you know, based on testing and a lot of scientific and chemistry research and experience that he had, he put a formula together, mixing things together, because what he was recognizing is that fight or flight response system, remember there's chemicals going all over, right? There's chemicals going all over your body. Well, after the flight, when the fight or flight response system is supposed to go back into rest and digest, your system also sends chemicals out to bring it into the rest and digest mode. Okay? So one of two things he understood was happening. Either the adrenals, the adrenal gland, control center, the guy with a little orange hard hat on here, was it yellow? I don't know, I switched their hats, but that's okay. The guy in that factory has either depleted his supply of those things and is no longer to do it. That was the first thought. Then secondarily, what he stumbled upon was something very simple, is that the receptors aren't seeing those things anymore. So I want you to think, because most of you have had children, remember that the little ball the kids had? Just think about your receptors in your body as one of these little balls that the kids try to put either a star in, or remember they're like blue and red, and you know they put the star and the square and the triangle, and the kids fight with it and they fight with it and they can't find which goes. But what's interestingly enough is if you think back to when your kids were babies, once they figured out that yellow star went in that particular configuration, they could do it almost every time. They didn't bounce around and look around the different spots. They looked for that shape and it went in there. It only took them a couple times, and then every single time the star went in the star. They never tried to put the star in the square again. Isn't that interesting? It's the same thing with our bodies. So what he found was, and this frustrating part is that, and as we'll talk about, is all of the things in this solution that he put together, there are things that are already naturally occurring in your body. You won't see within the ingredients something like the black root of XYZ tree from Africa. You're not going to see an extract from some ragweed in Indonesia. These are all things that are already happening in your body. And a lot of people would say, well, geez, if they're already happening, well, why aren't I fixed? And the reason is that the methodology and the way and the levels of these things aren't consistent with your receptors being able to actually see them and receive them and take them in. So he went to work on this about 10 years ago, had a really nice formula, it would work. Couldn't get it to help people's pain for a long duration. And he kept working on it, about 4.5, almost 5 years ago now. Got it to the state where it is now, and I'll tell you, it's really spectacular to work with. It's the neatest thing as a human being I think I've ever been able to experience. Basically, what it is a titration. I'll talk to you a little bit, share with you a little bit about what it is. When I use the word titration, that simply means it's a drink. It's chemical mixed with water that you ingest, you drink it. And there are at least, let's see, 5 people in this room, including myself, who've ingested it. Some of us have had zero response, like myself. I could drink a gallon of it right now, and it probably would give me a stomach ache if I drank a gallon of anything. But and others, which you'll hear from here in a little bit, it's had a profound effect on them within 7 to 10 minutes and over the past several months as well. So it's pretty exciting. The questions that we often get are, well, is it safe? What if this? What if I'm taking medications? Anybody taking medications? Don't tell me what they are. Okay. Had that feeling. In fact, there are no medications that we're aware of that this has an impact with. In fact, it's not a medication. It actually runs under it runs under what you would call a dietary supplement, in that it is not a controlled substance. It's not a narcotic. It's not a medication. It's a natural solution.
So insurance doesn't cover it then, probably, right?
Correct, it does not. Most of the good things insurance companies today don't cover. If you want to get a knee replaced or back surgery, they'll do that, but they won't typically. They typically don't want to pay for a decompression at a chiropractic's office, which typically for 80% of the people who go under surgery probably could have prevented it. A number of weeks ago, I say number of weeks, it was probably months ago, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, I had a patient in the office, one of the offices I was in, and a beautiful young woman came in, just could barely walk, and she had a pretty good scar right here on her neck, and I said, through talking, what she says, well, I had to have surgery in my neck, I'm in so much pain, and I went in and they said, you need surgery and you got to have surgery, so I did. And she said, in fact, tomorrow I'm going for my consult on surgery for the other side. I'm going to have the other side done. And I said to her, I says, after we're done today, you might want to reevaluate that surgery, and because you may not need it. And she kind of said, yeah, right. And when she left, she knew what I meant. She knew what I meant, and so hopefully she's doing well. I haven't spoken with her, but the progress reported her in her 4-week time, 3-4 weeks was positive and moving along. At that point, she hadn't had the surgery, nor had she gone on the consult for the surgery. So that's a good thing.